Okay, so what were you saying about this shit?
Oh yeah, so I worked really fucking hard on making a giant master movie marathon list.
Terry Gilliam did all the animation for Monty Python. He was the unofficial member, the only American in the group, and like his shit's very surreal and awesome. Because I haven't seen all of them, but I've saw most of them. But like the way you do in the marathon, you gotta do all of Monty Python's flying circus.
Oh no. How we're doing this marathon, like the outline is that we're starting with their early work, animation or acting, doesn't fucking matter. And then we're going on to like the middle of their career and so on and so forth. But in Terry Gilliam, he kind of works in this weird pattern. In his early work, he was doing nothing but animation with Monty Python.
And very British.
Very British humor, very British. But like it goes on to like that kind of thing. And then it goes to Time Bandits in Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, like, you know how those movies have, like, their kind of, like...
fantasy meets fucking dystopian.
Get on with it.
Like, level 1 is all the Monty Python stuff, but we also, the thing about the Monty Python thing, we came up with the Terry Jones Detour, because he co-directed with Terry Jones when it came to the Monty Python movies. So Terry Jones had his own movies that had both, they had kind of rubbed off on each other. So, like, you look at, like, the Terry Jones Detour, you get to do all the Monty Python, and then after you get to the last Monty Python movie, it starts with Labyrinth, Eric the Vice Jabberwocky.
You didn't tell me.
And then we get to level 2. Level 2 is the original trilogy, but there's a catch, because you go to Time Bandit, then you get to Brazil. Brazil, the movie, I'm not gonna give too much spoilers, but the main character lives in a fantasy world and he lives in a dystopian future or present. This time, you have a choice now. You can either go to the next part of the trilogy, continue the tour.
Choose your own adventure.
Yes, or you choose the dystopian future, what happens after the next dystopian movies.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
So when you get to Brazil, the next one is Munchausen, and that's the third part, that's the final part of the original Terry Gilliam trilogy. Round 3 consists of every movie after Munchausen, which is The Fisher King, 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing, Tideland, Brothers Grimm, Imaginarium, Dr. Parnassus, Zero Theorem, and his new one was supposed to come out this year.
Fucking Thailand fucked you up, didn't it?
Yeah, and the reason why we go Tideland over Brothers Grimm, even though Brothers Grimm supposedly came out first, is that if you watch Fear and Loathing, and then you watch Tideland after that, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then after that's Brothers Grimm Imaginarium, which is very
not really
fantasy.
what you see what you're talking about. You, like, we're all in fucking depth with it.
Well, yeah, because Fear and Loathing is a very dark, very American, that type of, like, dark and gritty American thing. Thailand is a very dark and gritty, it's a dark fairy tale. It kind of had a good, like, transition with Fear and Loathing. Right, you have go drugs, and you have something dark involving drugs, we'll say, without giving any spoilers. And then after that's Brothers Grimm, which is, like, just a dark idea of fairy tale, going back into the whole realm of fantasy, while also mixing well with that. The next movie after that is Imaginarium, Dr. Parnassus, which is Heath Ledger's final film. And
he died in the making of it.
yeah, well, you know what's even funnier about that? That Harry Potter spin-off, Fantastic Beasts, got their idea from Dr. Parnassus. Because what happens in Dr. Parnassus? Heath Ledger
turns into Johnny Depp.
and also turns into fucking Colin Farrell and Jude Law.
And Jude Law.
Right? Every time he goes in the Imaginarium, because, you know, in the real world he's Heath Ledger, but when Tony goes in there, he's those different actors in everyone's fantasy. Right? Well, what happens in Fantastic Beasts?
That one guy.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell turns into Johnny Depp.
Yeah. They got that idea from that movie. That's the only spoilers I'll give for that movie till we review these things. Then Zero Theorem, which is, you know, and then we go back to Dystopia, and then this new one, which is supposedly his final film, is The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. Watch Zero Theorem, you can almost think that, like, they got a lot of ideas from transfer to politics, because it's very visually like that, by the way.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. Joe did not like it. Joe thought it was, like, one of the worst Terry Gilliam movies ever. And I'm all like, why, dude? It's dystopian, it's 2000 AD type of shit, you know, like, Judge Dredd type of shit, but, like, you know, like a modern day cyberpunk done right, because cyberpunk these days is so dated. Like, have you ever seen Johnny Mnemonic? With Keanu Reeves and Henry Rollins and Dolph Lundgren and Ice-T? Oh, it's horrible. I used to think it was really badass, and then I watch it now and realize how dated it really is. It's supposed to take place, like, probably, like, 2 years from now or something, or this year. And basically, like, he's supposed to be, like, human, like, hard drive.
Yeah.
Like, he plugs it into his brain and shit. And he can only have, like, this much memory you can put in there. I'm thinking to myself, computers can hold, like, thumb drive can hold more than that. Right? And I was like, I need a computer. This is before people realized cell phones were that awesome.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be the future. Yeah. So yeah, this one looks really, this list, anything else you want to say about the list?
I don't really want to say anything else, but the whole, if you watch it, like, non-stop, it goes on for about 59 hours and 18 minutes.
But with the detours, you still got...
With detours and, like, 2 movies that are optional, too. Detours, by the way, I didn't add that to the time.
Yeah.
Without, the detour.
But
there are 2 optional ones. Monty Python Live at the Hollywood Bowl and Monty Python Mostly Alive. Alive, mostly.
Yeah. And
those 2 are just optional because they're live tapings.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I do want to put this on, I want this typed up, though. This would be cool.
And then there's, we have a James Gunn one, too.